Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm the Nerd on the Street, and today we are unboxing the Samsung Galaxy Tab S2 8.0. Well, I just had a very long day, and this is the end of that long day, and I am unboxing my brand new tablet, and I am very excited about this. I wanted a new tablet for my birthday. And if you're not used to this by now in my videos, I like to rant a little bit before I actually get to what I'm supposed to be doing. So I am always complaining about how small tablets are. I'm always saying I'm waiting for a 13-inch tablet. I'm always talking about how I will never truly believe in tablets until the screen sizes get a bit bigger. And here I am getting a Galaxy Tab S2 8.0, the smaller of the two versions. Why is that? Well, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you might remember that in 2013, actually late 2012, Christmas 2012, I got a Nexus 7 for Christmas. And the reason why I got that Nexus 7 was not because I wanted it more than the Nexus 10. It was because I could afford the Nexus 7, or rather the people buying me presents could afford the Nexus 7, and I can't afford a Nexus 10, or at that time I could not. So I got that Nexus 7, and it was interesting. You know, I used it for a bit when it was brand new, and then I actually didn't use it for like a year and a half. But then, about a year and a half ago, I started, and I know someone's going to pick apart these numbers. These are all just estimated numbers. It's not an exact timeline. But yeah, I didn't use the Nexus 7 for a while, barely touched the thing. And then a little while ago, about a year and a half ago, like I said, I started using the Nexus 7 a lot. And what I started using it for was I moved my computers down to this basement. And when I did that, there's not currently a computer in my room. All there is my Nexus 7, or there was my Nexus 7. I took it down here now because it's being retired tonight. So I've been using the Nexus 7 for reading, watching YouTube, watching Netflix, and listening to podcasts online. Those are the four things that I do with my Nexus 7, and those seem like really silly things to have a tablet for. Especially since I had the Nexus 7. Jacob, you had a perfectly good Nexus 7. Why would you go out and buy a Galaxy Tab S2 just for reading and listening to podcasts and watching videos? Well, the Nexus 7, it was a great tablet. It really was. It served me well for, like I said, a few years. But you know, the memory in it, I don't know if there's deterioration that happens. Some people have speculated that, or I don't know if it's always been a slow tablet and I'm just now noticing it. But the Nexus 7, it doesn't work very well. The battery life is really bad. Although the battery life I'm not too concerned about because I can charge it every day. Because like I said, I only use it in the evening. I don't use it all day while I'm at school, while I'm down here working. My Nexus 7 stays in my room. And this Galaxy Tab will probably stay in my room for the majority of the time I'm using it, at least for the next year or so. And yeah, that might seem like a silly thing to use a tablet for, but really, how much of my time I spend in my room reading and listening to podcasts is more than you might think. And, you know, the Nexus 7 had gotten to a point where I would pause a podcast that I'm in the middle of in Chrome. I would set an alarm on the Nexus 7. It's also my alarm clock. And then the next day, you know, I would get up, I would do everything. And then when I came back in the evening and I would open up Chrome again to resume that podcast, it would reload the page and it would lose my spot in the podcast because, I don't know, there wasn't enough RAM or something like that. So the point is, the Nexus 7, really, what it did was it showed me the value of smaller tablets. Because if I was using this tablet for actual, like, you know, taking notes, reading notes out loud in videos, doing important productivity things, I would have gotten the larger 9.7-inch version, which I think it looks very nice. But I considered getting an iPad mini, which, once again, one of the great things about this channel is I get to see my own opinions change. When I started this channel, I never would have considered getting an iPad mini. I considered that a waste of money. If you're going to get an iPad, you want a full-size iPad. That, I thought, was not even big enough for what you would want in a tablet. But for something that I'm holding at night in my bed, I want something light and I want something small. And, you know, the Nexus 7 fit the bill. And so the Nexus 7 really introduced me, like I said, to the value of small tablets. And so I was very, very happy when Samsung announced the Galaxy Tab S2, which this is basically the Android version of the iPad mini. It's got the same aspect ratio. I'll start opening this thing up, just so I don't bore you guys for way too long. But yeah, I felt like that deserved some explanation, because I have spoken out against small tablets a lot in the past, both on my channel and just in person when I've been talking to people. So yeah, we'll peel back the stickers here. I'm sorry I don't have scissors or anything to nicely cut through these seals here, but we'll just peel the stickers off. It's not too big of a deal. And then we will open this thing up. So like I said, very, very plain box, by the way. Samsung makes some really nice devices. I have never owned a Samsung device. So yeah, this is, by the way, the 8-inch version, like I said, 32GB version, Wi-Fi only, black. So that is the full specs. And yeah, you can see nothing much on the box at all. It's a nice textured box. The words bump out a little bit, and the box is kind of shiny almost, but it feels like cardboard, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to show you the bottom because there's, like, serial numbers and things, but you can see the back there. The back just has some specs. And yeah, this will be a 4K video, so hopefully you'll be able to see this in enough detail. You know, I don't do unboxings way too often because I don't buy stuff way too often. But we will open this thing up, and here we are. So like I said, the Android version of the iPad mini. This thing is a pretty premium tablet, especially since it's a smaller tablet. I really did. I was only looking at small tablets. I wanted something to replace my Nexus 7 upstairs in my room. So here we have the Galaxy Tab. It's on the top of the box, as you can see right here. And if I can just figure out how to get it out, I don't see a tab to pull anywhere. So I'll just flip it over. Okay, so now I see the tab to pull. The tab was not folded up. This thing is super light. Wow. I've got my Nexus all polished up, and it's sitting on top of my desk, so I don't want to touch it anymore, because when I retire devices, I like to make them look really nice, and then I like to set them on top of my desk for display. But I wish I could compare this, because this is super thin and light, and you'll see it in a moment. But the Galaxy Tab S2 is just wrapped in a sort of paper. Yeah, that is so light. So light. Wow. This is amazing. Alright, I'm really excited. Really excited for this, if you can't tell. And so in the box, we've got... This does have an SD card reader, which is very nice. Something you don't get in a lot of tablets, but like I said, this is kind of a sort of premium tablet. So the SD card reader, the micro SD card reader, it works kind of the same way as a SIM card reader. So we get this ejection tool here, and if you want to put a micro SD card into the Galaxy Tab, there's actually a tray that you pop out, and you set the micro SD card in that tray, and you pop the tray out using this thing and sticking that into a hole. So that's very interesting. Here we've got some documentation. Got a little QR code there. Not sure if that's anything sensitive, but probably something like super sensitive. I don't know. Samsung Galaxy Tab S2 Quick Start Guide. Okay. So we've got, it just tells you where all the buttons are, which I already know. I've been looking at this thing since it was announced a month or two ago. Initial configuration, locking and unlocking, connecting to Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, multi-window, something, that's one of those things when I was looking at this versus the iPad mini. One of the things is the iPad mini is using an older processor. This is also using an older processor, but Samsung has a really nice multi-window feature that they build into their Android tablets that Apple... They've got it in the iPad Air, but not in the iPad mini. So, just in case I ever do want to do something like take notes for a video or something like that, I'll be able to do it with this, with that multi-window function. So, setting up Gmail, customize your home and lock screen, installing apps, camera and video. Yeah, the Nexus 7 had a front camera, but you couldn't actually access it, like there wasn't a camera application built in. I've installed various ROMs on the Nexus 7, so I had used the camera on the front before just to see it work, but Galaxy Tab has a camera on the front and a camera on the back. Gallery, Internet, Chrome, And yeah, so that's a little bit of documentation. Nothing underneath that. And then in this box, we get a USB charging cable, which it looks like it's micro USB. It looks very similar to an Apple charging cable. Unravel it there. You can see it's white. And this end, if you just showed me this end alone, I might guess that this was an Apple cable, because it looks like an Apple, a white cable with the rounded block there at the end. This is a pretty short cable, but that's all right. Yeah, it's white. And the only difference between this and an Apple cable is on the other end we have the standard micro USB cable, which is perfectly fine. And then here we have the Samsung power brick. Once again, I've never owned a Samsung device before, but I have strongly considered them in the past, and I am very, very, very excited to try this thing out. So if we unwrap the plastic off of the power brick, there we go. I kind of ripped the plastic off wrong, but that's all right. So yeah, the USB port is on the side, and then your prong is on the front there. So that's interesting. We'll set all this off to the side. Yeah, make sure not to lose anything. There is a little bit more paper here. A little thing about Samsung itself, just advertising Samsung's syncing service and some accessories and things. And then health and safety and warranty guide. I always put this thing into airplane mode, or I always put my tablet into airplane mode before I go to sleep, just so it's not, sending Wi-Fi through me all night. Not that it would actually, make a huge difference, but... So here we have, once again, the tablet. This is so thin and so light. This is the thinnest tablet in the world. Samsung claims that it's the thinnest tablet in the world, and I didn't really, I thought it was just marketing, but it is pretty thin. So if we can figure out how to get this out, I can't actually figure out how to get this thing out. I don't have, like I said, oh, okay, the top unfolds. Alright, so the top folds up like that, and then we slide the tablet out like this. Alrighty, this is the Galaxy Tab S2. Like I said, it's got a 4:3 aspect ratio. The only thing I was worried about was how wide it was. I wanted to be able to hold it in one hand, which you can see I'm obviously doing. I'm super excited that I can do that. That's the only thing, the only worry I had about the 4:3 aspect ratio. Some people don't like the 4:3 aspect ratio because when you're watching videos sideways, there's going to be black bars on the top and bottom of the screen. I don't mind that much. Like I said, I do just as much reading and podcast listening as I do video watching on my tablet. So we'll peel. There's plastic on the back. Oh, in the back is a nice rubberized texture, which I like, because I absolutely loved the back of the Nexus 7. And this is not quite as grippy as the back of the Nexus 7. It's smooth, but the back is slightly rubberized, and then there is a sticker on there that I won't take that sticker off right now, maybe in the future, because I don't... Oh, no, it comes off pretty easily. It comes off easily, alright. So I did just take that sticker off. I'll throw it here in the box in case I ever want to look at it again. Yeah, model SMT710. And speaking of model numbers, I don't think that this thing has been rooted yet, but as soon as it is, I will, I'll look into installing CyanogenMod on it, but I do want to use the fingerprint sensor, or I at least want to see, how accurate it is. Is there plastic over the camera? Yes, there is. That awkward moment when you're not sure if there's plastic over the camera or if you're just picking at the lens itself. Okay, yeah, the plastic on the camera lens is really on there, but got it off. All right, and I'll take this closer to you so you can see it better in just a moment. But I thought that there would be plastic on the screen, but I am pretty darn sure there's not, which is no big deal. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and take this closer to the camera, and I'll give you a closer up view of the device. Like I said, oh, this is so, look how thin that is. That is super duper thin. Not even sure if the camera's focusing. There we go. Yeah, that is really darn thin. I'll put the actual how thin it is up on the screen. But yeah, you can see on this side we've got the power button and volume rocker there. On the top we've got, looks like, pinhole microphone right there. Nothing else. Nothing at all on the right side. And on the bottom we've got an off-centered USB, micro USB port. Once again, trying to get this in focus. And then we got speaker grill here, and then headphone jack, which I will use. And on the front of the tablet, we've got the, like I said, I think it's WQHD 1440p screen, which is funny because that's the same number of pixels that's in my 27-inch monitor that I use as my day-to-day workstation, is in this 8-inch screen here. So yeah, and then we got Samsung logo at the top. There's your front-facing camera right there. That's a really small camera lens on the front there. And then we've got what could be an ambient light sensor for adjusting the display brightness. On the bottom, we have our home button, Samsung's signature physical home button that most Android devices do not have. Like I said, I've never purchased a Samsung device before, but I don't think that I'll have a problem with that. I think that I'll like the home button. And this does have a fingerprint sensor built in. Now the Galaxy Tab S, the original Galaxy Tab S line, you had to swipe your finger across the fingerprint sensor. You don't have to do that anymore. You can just tap your finger to the sensor and it will work. So this is a button that clicks, and that's a nice click. That's a nice click. And then we have capacitive buttons that you just tap for back and multitasking, which are the two buttons that I would imagine myself using the most, other than home. And then on the back, like I said, smooth back. It is rubberized. On the right side here, we've got these little, I guess, dimples. And what those are for are, there's a case that you can get for this. And rather than magnetically attaching like the iPad cases do, this case would attach into those dimples. So that's not too much of an eyesore. They actually made these a lot smaller from the S1. The S1, they stuck out a lot more. And then we've got just some general device info at the bottom here. And then, like I said, this is smooth and rubberized. Samsung, shiny logo there. And then the camera sensor. I'll put something on the screen if this is wrong, but I think that this is 8 megapixels back, 2 megapixels front there. And man, this is freaking light. This is freaking light. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this thing on. So holding down the power button, and Samsung Galaxy Tab S2 powered by Android. So excited about this. Let me go ahead. I want you guys to see this. Okay, like I said, never owned a Samsung device before. But yeah, I want you guys to see this, but I also want to see it myself. So we've got select your language. English United States is default option. We'll tap next. Wi-Fi will connect. And this has Lollipop on it. Okay, I have never used the Samsung keyboard before, but there is a keypad at the top of the keyboard, or a number, row. That's nice. So, connect to Wi-Fi. Alright, so we've connected. Let me go ahead and move this all around so that you can see this a bit better. Here we go. Now you won't have to watch my shaky hand quite as much. So Wi-Fi is connected. Next. Okay, terms and conditions. So this is the license agreement just to use the tablet. We do not want to provide diagnostic and usage data because I am a paranoid freak. Next. Agree to the license agreement. Checking for software updates. Alright. And here we're at Google's new screens. There's Google's brand new logo. And enter your email. Let me do that real quick. Oh man, this thing is so light. I am so excited about this, guys. No tactile feedback on the keyboard, but there is a little clicky sound that it makes. Alright, accept Google's policies. Okay. And I see on the camera like a wave going across the screen. That's not happening here. This is a Super AMOLED display. It looks very vivid. But yeah, not sure how that plays with the camera. So set your time zones in central, if I can talk. Like I said, been a long day, guys. Current date is 9/4, and current time is, in fact, 10:59 p.m. No. Yep. Yeah, it is. All right, next. All right, get your apps and data. See, Nexus 7, last used today. We are going to set this up as a new device, actually. Yeah. I backed everything up myself, everything that I'll need, everything that I'll want. And, of course, I didn't wipe the Nexus or anything, so I can still boot it up if there's anything I forgot. All right, these services put Google to work for you. Back up your tablet's apps, app data, settings, and Wi-Fi passwords. We're not going to do this stuff. Like I said, this is not a production tablet. This is not something I'm going to be using for important stuff. This is something that I'm going to be using for personal stuff only. So we don't need location service. We don't need location service. We don't need diagnostics. Yeah, I don't want to back up this tablet stuff. I'm really thinking hard about this one. We're not going to do it. Tap next. All right, Samsung account. Like I said, I've never had a Samsung device before, so I don't have a Samsung account right now, but I'll go ahead and make one. Create account with Google ID. Okay. Let me go write down the password for this. Alrighty, went ahead and registered that password in my little database called the Notebook. And then we've got the terms and conditions for the Samsung account. Go ahead. Sign into that. And then welcome to your Samsung account. All right. Yeah, I knew that like Samsung has that Samsung, I don't know what it's called, gifts, benefits, whatever. But this tablet comes with some stuff. Some of it I've already got, like Netflix. But yeah, just for any free stuff we can get. All right, add fingerprint. Yes, please. In order for fingerprint recognition to function. All right. Confirm. So I'm going to do this with my thumb. So I don't really want to do this like right on camera, so I'm going to move the camera back. But you can kind of watch me do this. I'm going to do my thumb first, and then if it lets me add more fingerprints later, then I will. But I'm just, you know, doing this at all different angles, because you never know how you're going to be holding your tablet, you know, with different parts of my thumb. All right, place tip of same finger on home key and then lift it off. So they actually tell you, just in case you were doing it like this, all right, make sure that your finger covers the entire home key. Oh, there we go. All right, success. Create backup password. Let me go do this. All right, fingerprint lock has been turned on. And now we're at the home screen. So, got a notification, get content from old device later. Pull down our notification bar. All right, so this is Samsung's notification bar. They modify this from stock Android, obviously. We've got some settings up at the top. And this is a pretty nice screen here. Oh, on the left side of the home screen. Don't want to turn that on right now. I might download another launcher. I might not. I don't know. I'll just have to play around with this and find out what I like. If we lock the tablet right now. All right. Use fingerprint to unlock. All right. Worked on the third try. Let's try it one more time. All right. It worked pretty quickly that time. I guess I don't need to push the power button. If I just do this. All right. So that's a little shoddy. Like I said, I wasn't sure if it was going to be a gimmick or if it was going to work really good. No big deal. But yeah, mainly the only thing I'm concerned about with this tablet, you know, it's got 3 gigs of RAM. It does have an older processor in it. But I'm just concerned about, can this do the basic things that I talked about, reading, watching videos, and listening to podcasts without stuttering a lot. That's all I'm going to be using it for. And so, yeah, I will definitely keep you guys informed on how that's working out. If you have any questions about this tablet, please let me know, because like I said, this is a personal tablet, and you will probably not be seeing much of this in my videos in the near future, unless you ask me to do a video on something, or you ask me a specific question. For now, though, I'm going to go and play with this, but that was an unboxing of the Samsung Galaxy Tab S2 8.0. I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm the nerd on the street, and I will see you guys later. Bye.